The city took the property back, or took it by eminent domain for sale under the guise of building a public park, understanding that that public park never came to fruition until about 35 years after the fact. And the only reason they did it then, because the city was fearful of a lawsuit.
So did you notice that? When you've been watching this stuff for 3 days straight, you catch it. It's really easy to catch. What he did was he just made up a new fact that everybody's going to put into their speech. He just completely pulled out of thin air that the city of Manhattan Beach City Council in the 60s gave up the property because they were fearful of a lawsuit. This is not true. He has no basis. He will never back this up. It is made up malarkey. Completely 100% made up horse crap.
Benefit. And so they told people that they were going to build a park for the enjoyment of everyone. And that's why they took the Bruce's property. Well, that property sat vacant for 30 years later. In the meantime, the city of Manhattan Beach transferred that original beachfront property to the state of California. And it was almost like they wanted to, wash their hands a little bit of the whole incident and get rid of the property altogether.
So now Supervisor Hahn does the exact same thing, just makes up stuff out of thin air. Big difference is Supervisor Hahn should do her research before making stuff up. City of Manhattan Beach gave up the park to state. In exchange, the state was going to purchase privately owned property that was owned by Mr. MacArthur, which was from the Manhattan Beach Pier south 3,000 feet. Manhattan Beach tried to acquire it 12 years earlier, but lost in a lawsuit. Also, by giving the Peck Park to the state promised to maintain the beaches and the park area and give them money to improve the park area. So it was a sweet deal, and the supervisors were a big part of that deal. It was in 1947. It's another 100% cannot be verified story, and she will not be able to substantiate it at all. It's when she says they wanted to wash their hands of it and throw it away, what she's doing is she's building credibility for what they're doing with witnesses that don't exist anymore and stories that can't be verified.
With me today. And remember what Dr. King said, let us be those creative dissenters who will call our beloved nation to a higher destiny, to a new plateau of compassion, to a more noble expression of humanness. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the great Senator Steve Bradford.
Thank you, Supervisor Hahn. Let's give her a round of applause. A true profile in courage. There comes a time when one must ask a position that is neither, or one must take a position that's neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. He must take it because his conscience tells him it's the right thing to do. That's why we're here today. That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Good morning. My name is Steve Bradford.
The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism.
Every day at the beach, I knew in my heart that there was only one thing that needed to happen, and that was that we return this property to its right.
False promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leader.
Are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ. The NAACP. I'm suspicious of whites who join Negroes and always have to be in the lead, who always have to be the head, who always have to be at the top in Negro organizations. Those whites who really have the interest of blacks at heart, let them give some advice to some Negroes and stand on the sideline. But don't join the organization and then get at the head of it and pose as a friend of Negroes.
Well, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling.